So a lot of questions are coming in about the virtual learning option and what that would look like on a day-to-day basis. So let's go pay a visit to Dr. Christine Harris. She is the Supervisor of Educator Effectiveness with Wilson County Schools. She's going to help me help you understand more about that virtual learning option. Let's go say hello to Dr. Harris. Okay, Dr. Harris, thank you so much for taking some time. We've got a lot of commonly asked questions. I feel like we're properly socially distanced to get this done, but we do appreciate you taking some time to kind of go through some things, some commonly asked questions that a lot of you have asked about. So let's get right to it. What do you say?
All right.
Day to day, if you could describe what the virtual option would look like, how would you best describe that?
Well, we're working on what that looks like. So it'll be highly dependent on the numbers of kids that sign up for the virtual option and how we staff that. So some kids will be joining live sessions a couple hours during the day and then have some asynchronous work to work on at their own time and pace. But that's going to be dependent on who is scheduled to do that and then when those classes happen. Any synchronous sessions, though, will take place during school hours because that's when teachers are working. But there will be activities that they'll have to do at other times, and that's why they need that learning coach to make sure that they can walk through those kindergarten through 8th grade.
Yeah, so what we'd like to just paint the clearest picture possible, but that is a little bit difficult to do that until we have the numbers in on who all will participate in the virtual learning. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the week of July 20th, we'll be working on staffing those sections based on how many students enroll in the virtual option, and then working with our principals to change master schedules and get teachers enrolled into those master courses. And then we can let parents know once we get closer to the start of school what their exact learning schedule will look like each day.
And speaking of that, again, that is a little bit up to be determined, but I know I've had a parent reach out to me and he was gracious enough to say, hey, he sketched out like from 8 o'clock to like 2 o'clock and said, would it look anything like this in terms of a live segment here, a recorded segment here, really from a block of a day, what could they expect in terms of how much live interaction versus how much non-live action or recorded action?
So we were just talking today with our supervisors about those exact requirements and expectations. So the subcommittee that's working on our virtual learning option is coming up with those expectations both from a student perspective, a teacher perspective, and a parent perspective. And once we know how many sessions that kids will be a part of each day or what Monday would look like, we can put that on paper and say you're going to be online from 8 to 9 with a guidance counselor for a guidance lesson. From 9 to 10 you'll be with an ELA teacher learning ELA, and maybe you don't have another live session till 1 o'clock with a math teacher.
Well, that's great. And another thing too, we've had some parents reach out and say, well, my work schedule, if they're going to take on the role of a K through 8 learning coach, with their work schedule, would it be interrupted if it was outside the bounds of when they could be there? In other words, could the learning be split up if they did the virtual piece? And I think the answers that we've been receiving so far is, well, if you're the live session, the learning coach needs to be there for.
Yes.
In the non-live, in the learn at your own pace, maybe not necessarily, but that accountability piece would still be there by that learning coach. Is that correct, or do I have that mixed up?
I think you're exactly correct. And remember, students are supervised at school all of the time, and we want students to be supervised at home. There are requirements about you supervising kids, not leaving them home alone. So we want to make sure that kids are cared for appropriately and are supervised by a qualified individual. But the learning aspect, when they're on live sessions, students might need help with technology or doing activities, and the teacher can't reach through that computer and help them. And so they do need that learning coach, especially during synchronous sessions. But we figure the learning coach will be needed 4 to 6 hours a day, especially during school hours when synchronous sessions might happen.
And let's make something very clear right now. It is not as if a child would be in front of a device for 6 straight hours. We know that is certainly not how elementary school kids are built. I'm 40 years old. I'm not built that way. So can you explain that a little bit and clarify that will not be the case?
No, we do not want to set that up that way. Students will have 6.5 hours of instructional activities to do in each learning day, because that's required by the state board. Is that live in front of the computer the whole time? No, it will not be. And they can take breaks. We encourage that. But we're going to help people navigate what that looks like, and our virtual teachers who are doing that will help our parents, and our virtual orientation will walk through some of that.
And in closing, because I think we've hit on a lot of high points already that I'm seeing the most of, talk about that training process, that more to come if that virtual path is chosen from parents for their children or their student to have that training. Tell folks what's coming up about that. That will help them tremendously.
So we'll hold Parent University mini courses. Some will be synchronous. A lot of them will be webinars that are recorded and placed on our website. So we're going to call them 100, 200, and 300 level series. And virtual parents, students that are in the virtual program will need to watch several of those. We'll tell you which ones you need to watch to be prepared to help with platforms. If it's Achieve 3000 or our Alex Math programs, whatever students are going to have to utilize at home in a lot of self-paced curricular activities, we want parents to know how to navigate those resources. But additionally, we want to provide some supports on social emotional learning with our parents. The things that we're learning in the school, we want to make sure parents are aware of through that Parent University class.
We know it's a big decision. We know it's not one to take lightly. We have full acknowledgement that to have every single detail in place before you make that decision, unfortunately, cannot be there until we know the numbers that are actually going to participate in this. However, the framework is there to provide that quality instruction, to have what's needed in place, and we're very confident that if the parent, guardian, or learning coach is interactive with this can work.
Oh, absolutely. And Dr. Wright mentioned it at the board meeting. If this works really well, why would we ever go back? But we have to see how it works this first semester and how it works for our families. And I'm sure we'll make changes. We'll get better as we go, but it's the first time we've done it. But we'll improve, and we're open to feedback as we're building this plane.
Dr. Harris, what we're doing right now is we're showing people the virtual learning registration overview page, and some of you have seen this. It was sent out, hopefully a lot of you have seen this. It was sent out in an email on Tuesday, and that just gives you an overview, and you can kind of navigate through. You can see on the right side there, course offerings and just some basic overall learning expectations and those sorts of things. Is there anything else you want to add, Dr. Harris?
Well, I think it's important that they see the learning coach requirements and expectations for our elementary, middle school students, as well as how athletics and extracurriculars will work. Continuation in the program is based on successful completion, and we just want everyone to understand that this is what we have right now. We're going to keep getting better as time goes on. So make sure you get into Skyward and choose this option if it's something that you want by July 17th.
Well, Dr. Harris, thank you for the time. We really appreciate it. You've been a huge help. Everybody say thank you. Yes, I'm not a man. Thank you. Bye-bye. We'll check in with you later, I'm sure.
All
See
right.
you. Bye.